All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to change your Google Form default settings so that the form will collect email addresses of your respondents automatically as the default behavior. So first, I'm just going to go to Google Forms. And I'll show you straight away, I know that my default setting is turned to collect email addresses because I can see that in the form. It says it's collecting email addresses, and I didn't do anything. I just opened this brand new form up, right? If yours does not have that statement at the top, that means it's not collecting email addresses. So if you want that to be your default setting, then we can change that. While we're in there, I'll also show you how to change something else, which is the required question option. You'll notice that when I create questions in Google Form, they're automatically assigned as required, right? That's toggled on, and I can tell it's required because it has that little red asterisk there. So I know that those are required questions, and that's the default behavior that I have set. But you may not have that set as your default behavior, and therefore that required would be flipped off, and whoever's responding to your survey could, in theory, then skip that question without answering it. Whereas if it's turned on, the person won't even be able to submit the form until they've answered that question. So I'll show you how to change both of those default behaviors in just a second. So you do that by going up to the three vertical dots here at the top right, and you only need to do this once, and then it'll be set for any of your forms in the future because this is the default. We'll go to Preferences. And notice I have mine flipped on. Collect email addresses. Make sure yours is checked to turn that on as default. And then if you want your questions to be required as the default, make sure you check that box. You can also set the default quiz point value score as 0, and that's fine. I usually just leave that as it is because I can always change it to whatever I want after that. So I typically leave that. I don't touch that. But make sure you have these both checked. Collect form email addresses, make questions required, save. And then if at any point I decided I have a question that I don't want to be required, I can still toggle that off. But the vast majority of the time you want questions to be required, so it makes more sense, I think, to make the default turn on, and then you can turn them off on a need-to basis. And same thing for collecting email addresses. I can still go here and stop collecting email addresses on this particular form. So you'll see that that little statement about collecting email addresses went away here. But if I were to create yet another form, you can see that the default behavior puts that back on, right? So I still have control if I want to turn it off and give certain situations, but it makes sense to have that on for the default, and same for the required question. All right, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, just let me know.